Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for your presence today. We're all here for Kicking and Screaming, the power of product marketing to drive transformational change. I'd like to extend a big thank you to the Product Marketing Alliance and their Masters of Marketing event series that's given us the opportunity to be with each other in this way right now. As far as what you'll hear today, here's the obligatory opportunity to run slide I'd like to include. I'll be sharing my own experience leading a product marketing team through transforming a legacy ad tech company into a profitable and successful ad tech, or marketing and advertising and technology, SaaS plus media business, in the pursuit of helping you learn how to unchain yourself from being at the mercy of your roadmap and how to rally internal departments and key stakeholders to drive ongoing innovation for your company. Let's get rolling with a little bit about who I am. I'm Laura Mouse. It's my great pleasure to join you as Senior Director, Product Marketing for AdRoll, a division of Nextroll Inc. AdRoll is one of three business units within Nextroll. We're focused on serving B2C, specifically direct-to-consumer customers, while our other business units include Rollworks, who serves our B2B customers, and Nextroll Platform Services, which gives its customers the flexibility to build their own marketing solutions or enhance their existing capabilities and data through our external APIs. For those of you unfamiliar with AdRoll, AdRoll levels the playing field for growing direct-to-consumer, or D2C brands, with our e-commerce marketing platform that includes ads, email marketing, AI-driven product recommendations for your online store, and cross-channel measurement, including multi-touch attribution. By putting these essential tools together with our almost 14 years of data about digital shoppers and artificial intelligence built from that for our customers, we're uniquely able to unify their data, channels, and measurement so they can reach the right customers with the right messages in the right channels at the right time. I've spent the last over 20 years working at the intersection of marketing and technology, with the last nearly a decade devoted to software as a service, or SaaS companies, in various stages of growth, taking or retaking their products and services to market to help them grow. Any observations I share here today are my own. We should have plenty of time today for live questions, and please do feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn so that we might continue the conversation. I'm here today to evangelize the good word that, in a discipline that's often poorly understood, if not completely misunderstood or underappreciated, you, as product marketers, are actually best positioned to be the strongest force in driving transformational change within your organizations. And, though it may not always feel that way, I'm going to share my very personal experience at AdRoll as a vehicle to help make that case. Which brings us to how I got here. Almost 2 years ago, a favorite former colleague of mine started planting the seed with me about AdRoll, what they were up to, and where they were headed. AdRoll was attempting the transformation from a legacy ad tech platform, a media company, to a SaaS plus media company. They were building a growth marketing platform that encompassed both ad tech and martech for what they were calling at the time ambitious direct-to-consumer brands. In order to make that transformation, they were seeking assistance defining that ideal customer profile, or ICP, and operationalizing that ICP within AdRoll. Since its inception, AdRoll had served more than 37,000 brands, and not all of them were going to be representative of this new ICP. He proceeded to sweeten the pot by sharing that pricing and packaging work was up next, after they had clarity on their new ICP. Now, as a product marketer, as you can imagine, both ICP and pricing and packaging work are passions of mine. Though I know from experience how fraught with peril both of these exercises can be, he caught my attention. Having been at a number of startups that had used AdRoll previously, this intrigued me. At the time, I had been working as full-time employee number one at an emerging bootstrapped startup. While the work was fascinating and leading marketing in a company from its inception was exciting, as it started to grow, I'd reached a point at which the scale of the impact I could make was capped. AdRoll presented the very unique opportunity to solve startup problems with the existing revenue stream and resources of an established company. I took the leap, and what a leap it ended up being. While I came in initially to work on ideal customer profile and pricing and packaging, within a very short time, I found myself heading up the product marketing team at AdRoll. To take a step back, let's talk about why AdRoll wanted to make the move from media only to SaaS plus media. The aim was to fundamentally transform our relationship with customers from a transactional one to an ongoing or recurring one. As part of this, we would be expanding our purview from an ads platform on which customers relied on AdRoll to grow their sales to a growth marketing platform on which customers relied on us to grow their brands by growing their relationships with their customers. After nearly 14 years of success doing the former, why bother moving to the latter? There were a number of reasons. The first is it increases enterprise value. A SaaS plus media company is worth more than a media company alone. SaaS enterprise value is 6 to 10x ARR, or annual recurring revenue, while media is valued at 2 to 3x. Even a media customer with free SaaS is valued more than a media customer alone. Next, it elevates market perception. Having a growth marketing platform that addresses a wider swath of marketing needs, especially one with a freemium offering, helps attract more signups and allows us to build the organic pipeline of customers by a freemium as an acquisition strategy. In the long run, it improves ARPU, or average revenue per unit. Finally, it has the potential to increase LTV, or lifetime value, by improving customer retention and providing more value over the entire customer lifecycle. Sounds simple enough, though the act of becoming a SaaS company would require many other transformations, large and small, to get there. In addition to moving from selling media to selling software as a service or SaaS subscriptions along with media, we were also moving from asking people to view us as a product or collection of products, primarily ads, to a growth marketing platform that would address all of their essential marketing needs, including ads. Our target market was and is a smaller growing customer, which we'll be talking about in a bit, which meant it made sense to shift from an outbound interruptive model to an inbound flywheel model. This required a tremendous amount of content and coordination, which meant we had to start that transformation well in advance of many of the others. Our goal was to move from a transactional relationship in which our customers paid for a campaign they hoped would deliver performance to a recurring, value-based relationship in which increased use of our platform should deliver increased and recurring value. We had to shift our service model from focusing on heavily managing our customers and doing things for them to better enabling the self-service experience such that they did more on their own in the platform and our interactions with them became more strategic. Finally, we had to accept that as part of all these prior transformations, we would now be in a world in which we no longer controlled our customers' journey. We had to be prepared to meet them where they were, however they found us, and give them what they needed. At this point, I'll drop the spoiler that we officially launched our SaaS Plus Media offering in North America April 21st, 2020, followed by a full international launch June 15th of this year. While it would have been no small feat under ideal circumstances, you may recall that at that point we were all contending with a global pandemic as well. One silver lining is that, while I was originally scheduled to give this talk at the PMM Summit in New York City in March of this year, it's now been updated with the benefit of hindsight. Successfully getting there ultimately required that we do 4 things. First, reimagine our product marketing team. Second, redefine our customer. Third, pick a viable packaging and pricing strategy. And fourth, deliver a platform that actually paid it all off. All the while getting internal alignment on all of these pieces, start to finish, from executives to employees to our board. Now, we'll cover the logistics and lessons learned in doing those. First, we needed to transform the team. At Adroll, the product marketing team is situated as part of the larger marketing team. The team itself was strong from a skills and motivation perspective. However, it was small relative to the larger product management organization, and it was comprised of product marketers that lacked prior experience helping organizations navigate through these types of dramatic changes. I had no doubt in the team's inherent ability to do this. However, the team itself had to be positioned differently than it was if we were going to be successful. First, historically, the product marketing team had been largely associated with what I call last mile activities of the go-to-market process. These are things that are absolutely necessary to take things to market, such as launch communications, one-sheeters, trainings, and webinars, yet they occur after many of the critical decisions that make a go-to-market process successful have already occurred. Therefore, while important, they lack the strategic influence that product marketing can offer an organization. Plus, they are often left to compensate for poor decisions, or more often, the lack of decisions made earlier in the go-to-market process. Second, the product marketing team was mapped to specific product managers and products. This presented a few significant challenges. It meant we were entirely at the mercy of what was, at the time, an extremely fluid roadmap. Whatever thrash occurred on the product management side deeply impacted our work and effectiveness. Further, what was even deemed a product was highly subjective. That meant there was no degree of consistency applied to different tiers of launches. Things that were parity releases were getting the same degree of attention and resources as groundbreaking and competitive new offerings. Finally, product marketing was not yet being leveraged as a strategic partner. Though the team possessed extremely strong capabilities in market, customer, and competitive research, they were extremely under-leveraged in the early stages of the go-to-market process, such as opportunity assessment and product concept and evaluation phases. Simply put, to be the team we needed to be to help Admiral navigate this change, we ourselves had to transform seemingly overnight. And while it did not happen exactly overnight, we did set out as quickly as possible to begin that metamorphosis. It was critical to both establish a clear, comprehensible vision for product marketing at Admiral, as well as infuse a belief in the team that this was not only something in a strategic planning document or on paper. This is what we were now, and we had to show up this way and act this way with every fiber of our beings and in every interaction, starting immediately. Our reason for being is that product marketing contextualizes the customer in aggregate and the market for Admiral, and contextualizes the product for the BU, the customer, and the market. We do this to successfully take products to market and enable Admiral to establish a strong market presence and gain market share. In doing this, we serve three core functions for the Admiral BU: voice of market to the BU and product, voice of customer to the BU and product, and voice of product back out to the BU, our customers, and the market. Because of the cross-functional nature and broad operational range inherent to its discipline, as well as the absence of any revenue or release-based KPIs, product marketing is uniquely equipped to serve as an honest broker for these functions, which comes into play later. This is certainly not the most Marie Kondo slide about product marketing ever shown, and the Product Marketing Alliance has since released a product marketing core framework visual that's far more elegant. However, since much of the educating product marketers do about their discipline occurs on the ground, and from the ground up, often in real time, it was important for me at the time to name for my team all the things they were often already doing as part of their day-to-day, and put them in the proper context in the world. Many of you might be doing these things today, often behind the scenes, as part of a scramble to do your own due diligence in preparation for the thing you're actually being asked to do. Doing this exercise within your own organization serves as a map of sorts for identifying those intersections and associated interactions and teachable moments with other teams, and can be a conversation starter on additional places earlier in the go-to-market process that product marketing can add value as a strategic partner. I should note that, along the way, in June 2019, as part of our transition to SaaS and our focus on an inbound self-service first customer acquisition model, the product marketing team also absorbed the solutions team at Admiral, which we began the process of converting from a more one-to-one sales desk-oriented model to a scalable, best-in-class SaaS sales enablement team. A huge piece of this has been just defining for our team and for complementary teams within Admiral where we end and others begin. As we began to frame our world in terms of the voice of customer, voice of market, and voice of product, the way we worked started to change too. Instead of being mapped to the ever-changing roadmap products and associated product managers, we remapped ourselves to core product marketing functional areas like product adoption and engagement, enablement, content and communications, launch strategy, and marketing customer research. Things that span the go-to-market process for anything we're taking to market. This fundamentally changed the way we worked and the ways in which we were able to impact the organization, which you'll hear more about later. And we continue to evolve to this day. Right now, we're in the process of relaunching sales enablement as customer enablement to better reflect these conversations that reduce friction in the sales process happen all along the customer journey in self-service and human-assisted ways. And finally, along the way, we were lucky enough to gain some stellar senior level product marketers, and we're about to gain more. The more we've sharpened these functional areas, the more we've been able to attract top talent and speak to the opportunity that's here for them. Next, we needed to transform what and who we were targeting. As I mentioned in the beginning, the starting point for us was defining our ICP. An ideal customer profile, or ICP, is a set of identifiable traits that describe a customer who gains significant value from using our products and provides the most positive outcome for our business in return. Within a single ICP, there can be one or multiple personas describing individuals within the company with the desire, ability, and authority to purchase our products. We define those personas elsewhere, and in fact, there are many types of personas that apply situationally, and even the same person in a different situation may act as a different persona. Our ICP informs where we will invest a certain percentage of our resources, usually between 70 and 90, to acquire and retain them, research and build products for them, and invite them to be advocates and advisors for our business. ICP allows us to both add focus and define clear success criteria in all areas of our business. It helps every team separate signal from noise. The danger of failing to define an ICP or failing to align on the definition of ICP across your organization is the proverbial problem of rowing in different directions at once. Without that alignment, teams can very earnestly and very quickly be hustling in the wrong direction. Admiral offers ambitious B2C companies, especially direct-to-consumer brands, democratized access to sophisticated marketing technology, tools, and expertise in one easy-to-use, comprehensive platform so they can compete and grow their business, regardless of budget, resources, or marketing experience. We get asked often, what is a D2C company? Simply put, the direct-to-consumer model involves a direct transaction between manufacturer and buyer, often enabled through mobile and digital channels, that allows brands to cut out the retailer middleman. In other words, these brands have a direct relationship with their customers. The reason for focusing on direct-to-consumer brands, for us, were numerous. Seemingly overnight, we went from trusting a small number of household brands to a Cambrian explosion of direct-to-consumer brands. And they continue to grow as our preference for shopping with them grows also. Many of the advantages direct-to-consumer brands have over incumbents also align with the value AdRoll can provide them. For example, direct-to-consumer brands recognize that owning their customer relationships is paramount to their growth. Thus, they start out early with a first-party data orientation. That means predictions we can make by combining our artificial intelligence with their first-party data are inherently valuable to them. In other words, they already believe what we believe. Much additional work went into defining the guardrails, firmographic, behavioral, and psychographic that further identify our ICP. Though rallying just around a picture of this growth-oriented, direct-to-consumer brand was really critical in shaping everything else we did on our road to SaaS. Transforming the relationship we had with our customers was also critical. There are a number of realities about pricing and packaging work. First, you must balance the realities of your current offering while accounting for future products and vision. Second, pricing is like design. People assume they know something about it just because they've bought things before. It's also always an art and a science. Leveraging a reputable consultant for the science part helps, yet there are still many cooks in the kitchen. You have to give them a voice and a feeling of buy-in. It's a delicate process. You have to always remember also that pricing is emotional. Product marketing acts as the primary liaison and thus therapist. You have to do things like take an honest external look at the state of the product and understand its real value to the market, then communicate that to others. Those others may be people who've been deeply involved in product development or who have a strong opinion about where the product needs to be or how much it needs to be priced at. Finally, there's a constant need to enable the whole company to understand that what we're really doing is not just picking a price point. We're optimizing a monetization strategy, which doesn't always mean getting the most money from each individual subscriber. You'll get asked a lot about leaving money on the table. While working with a phenomenal external consultant did not spare us the general pains of packaging and pricing, it did give us a sound, data-backed, value-based approach for tackling the problem. We were fortunate enough to choose a partner that worked in sprints. That meant, instead of a weighty, expensive deliverable that was dropped in our laps, which would have been irrelevant by the time we really understood what we were taking to market, we were able to take an iterative approach that actually informed what we did take to market. It started with understanding our personas. What were their pain points? What did they value? What were the outcomes they were looking for? How do they prefer to buy? We next moved to understand a packaging model. What were the core features they were willing to pay for? What were features that they didn't care about? What were features that were table stakes and that they expected to be there, but they didn't expect to pay more for? By doing that, we really understood what were value driver features and could understand how to stratify those across our different packaging and pricing. Next, we moved to understanding the pricing structure and the value metric. How could we create a system where customers scale value with usage of the product? Which unit of value best aligned with customer preference? How do they prefer to pay? How do they prefer to think about creative services? And what type of freemium model do they prefer? We also got an early look at how they thought about services. Which of the things we provided today were valuable? And though we weren't quite ready to include those in our packages at launch, it gave us a solid understanding of where we could head in the future. At the end of the day, we still needed the platform to pay it off. While we knew we wanted to be a SaaS plus media company, it took us a long time and a number of pivots and missteps to understand what exactly that meant for us and what exactly we would be taking to market as part of our initial SaaS plus media offering. We knew we had to shift from that siloed approach I mentioned to developing products for a holistic platform approach that provided An onboarding experience that would go beyond technical requirements to get customers to take action that would increase lifetime value. A homepage that would perpetually provide information on how they were doing and what they should do next. And free insights that delivered value even before they began spending with us on media or SaaS subscriptions. And an experience that encouraged adoption of our cross-channel capabilities that were better together and would increase their success growing their brands. Product marketing was integral in painting a simple picture for the entire BU of what the necessary milestones were to get there on our road to SaaS. There were points in time where the dates for those milestones were shifting constantly, yet, because we were rallied around those shared milestones, understanding the impact on launch and what trade-offs could be made was possible. There were many, many teams working cross-functionally to make sure that not only could we build the platform, but we could support customers end-to-end operationally. These milestones took into account all of that cross-functional work and gave people a clear and moving picture of when those pieces would come together and actually get us all the way to launch. In many cases, these milestones weren't necessarily sexy or big monumental features, though they were things that we needed to plan for, and they were things that had a certain order of operations. Again, having this clearly laid out and having a central point of reference for all of these cross-functional teams helped tremendously in getting us across the finish line. All told, the road to SaaS took us nearly 18 months. It was a labor of love for many individuals and teams, though I am proud to share here the integral role product marketing played in making it happen. To close things out, this is a tough job. Product marketing is not for everyone. For those for whom it is, it can be incredibly rewarding. We operate at the seams of the organization, which means we strengthen things and sometimes are the only thing keeping them together. We live perpetually in the not yet. This can be such an exciting place if you choose to see it that way and embrace all the people you get to stretch to be as a product marketer. I'll name just a few here that come to mind, reflecting on this recent journey of our road to SaaS. The first is the therapist. If you're in an organization with people who truly care, you're going to run into emotions. You're going to run into emotion and fear quite frequently, in fact. Even more frequently, it's not about you or the PMM team or the job you're doing. Assume it doesn't have anything to do with that. Have compassion, and remember few people deal with as much change as we do on a daily basis. The second I mentioned earlier, which is the honest broker. Product marketing doesn't directly have a pony in the race because we aren't measured on outputs like revenue or even products that we're shipping. People have trouble wrapping their minds around long-term plans, and COVID has made it even worse. Product marketing is in a great position to help other teams set small, attainable, unsexy goals that can actually be hit and to go from there. So instead of looking at vanity metrics or rallying around things that are unattainable within a quarter, you can help set people's expectations about how to incrementally get from where you are to where you need to be. The sous chef. Always make the problem smaller. Break things down into smaller pieces to make it digestible for all stakeholders. We've learned this as time has gone on as well. Again, having a smaller but attainable goal, learning from that and iterating upon that is always superior than having a grand long-term plan that never comes to fruition. Don't fall into those traps and always think about the smallest unit of effectiveness you can measure where you can really see that you're having an impact and use that as a foundational building block for where you move going forward. The Chief Communication Officer. Product marketing must drive how everything is communicated internally and externally. I know I made many mistakes presenting where we were with pricing and packaging based on executive meeting schedules, not meaningful project deliverables. I learned that We have far more agency than I was accounting for in driving those schedules, and as a leader, going forward, I needed to use it. And finally, what I call the wise tree. Understand which ways you can bend. If you're too much of a stickler, you'll lose the ability to hold your ground. Yet, if you don't know where you stand, you'll never establish roots. Don't be dogmatic, yet don't bend the work to the direction the wind is blowing. Discretion is a product marketer's best friend. I truly hope this time today together was beneficial, and I'd love to answer any questions people might have. Thank you so much.
Hey, Laura.
Hi, Max.
So in the chat, you answered a couple of questions briefly. I was wondering if you could sort of extrapolate those answers out. So Tanya asked about Zoom fatigue and sort of the communication issues faced during lockdown. Have you found that an issue at all? And sort of what have you done if it is an issue to get on top of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for us, and I think many people, the default was that everything became a Zoom meeting, and I think every live format eventually became sort of a webinar format, and so that was in work. That was for live events that were transitioning to virtual. That was even, or even in many cases, still is for some of our social activity, and so Zoom burnout is real, and I think not every event lends itself to that webinar format. So I've been trying to learn a lot from, like I mentioned, other teams. We have a great product design team, and they've been able to walk us through quite a few large group workshops that use Miro's the tool that we use, but really take advantage of some of the tooling that exists to create a sort of whiteboarding like experience. And I think they also do a great job of teeing up how people should behave in the session, how to use it, and really walking people through the expectations from the beginning. So I think that's been great for us because it really is it provides a different experience, and you get a break from looking at your own head all day. And then I think the other thing too is there are a lot of event professionals, like corporate event marketers, that are doing things differently, creating different types of experiences. So not just, again, translating a live event to a virtual format, but really rethinking what are the takeaways and how can those be replicated. I know even with our, I'm part of our Salt Lake City office, and our leadership team has been talking about how we try and not just replicate, but sort of recreate our office culture. We had the office opened here within the last year. We did a big, beautiful build out, and now we're all obviously at home. And so we had this really unique culture in that particular location and for that site. We were just getting rolling. So instead of trying to replicate our San Francisco culture in our Salt Lake office, and then instead of trying to replicate online the exact experience, we're talking through what are ways to just create a whole new experience and think about, what are the principles we had as part of that site culture and how can those manifest. So I think that that's, now that we've had some time to live with this for a while, that's where we're at with that. And then I think the other question was about ICP. And like I mentioned, I think definitely we still have the same ICP, that we did realize that, we're having to respond differently to different types of customers based on where their business is at, and find ways for them to be successful. For those who've had total, I won't say shutdowns, but like a real stop in their business, and it's not going to matter what they do from a marketing perspective. It's just going to have to pick back up when the economy does. I think I'm seeing things like it's a good time to restructure your email marketing programs, other things where there would have been risk in pausing and rebuilding when you're at full capacity. If you are sort of stalled right now, you can actually take time to do those projects that you've had on your radar. And then for others, I think it's really just about helping them adapt. Another lesson that I've learned is, at least for our ICP, which is direct to consumer businesses, their marketing teams have a lot more levers to pull than I realized at first. They're very involved with sort of product placement with just the actual things that they sell, what they're selling, when they're selling it. And so it's not just a matter of marketing and advertising, it's a matter of actually really being involved in all those areas of the business. And we're seeing that increase, which is also increasing pressure for those marketing teams as well, because they're being asked to really stretch operationally in terms of their domain.
Yeah, I heard it put quite interestingly the other day about it's a time where, if you can, it's the best time to be reflective as well as reactive, because people are reacting to such a fluid situation. But I think product marketing is perhaps uniquely placed to think, okay, we need to change, but actually let's look at what we have been doing and how we can then grow into this throughout the pandemic and beyond. There's been some more questions asked during that time as well. Lorna asked, can you share specific examples of how you evolved the product marketing team from the last mile marketing team to the more strategic influence?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think, like I said, I think the first key piece was really remapping us. So again, not having us tethered to specific products or to specific product managers, because our roadmap, at least at the time, was changing quite frequently. And so, you'd have one person on the team that was deeply involved in something, and then the roadmap would change, and that work was, I won't say throwaway, but it was, they were completely redirected. And so for me, I had to really think through, how can we structure ourselves so that we have more agency and we're more in control. And like I said, really mapping to the disciplines within product marketing, and then educating other people on, hey, you don't go to this person to talk about the email product anymore. You go to them to talk about launch communications, or you go to them to talk about, sales enablement. It took a while and a lot of repetition. And I think it forced us to actually bullet point out, even down to things like, these are the types of tools that this person uses for reporting for this piece of product marketing. So if we're talking about product adoption and engagement, here are the tools we have in-house where we look at product adoption and engagement. If we're talking about, for example, enablement, somebody might be using Chorus to analyze sales calls, or they might be using Outreach.io. So we actually labeled the tools that fell into each area. We labeled the reports and the data sources. We mapped ourselves to, we have a lifecycle team within marketing, and we sort of mapped product marketing to this lifecycle communications team to say, hey, when people are in this phase of their customer lifecycle, these are the product marketing activities that are associated with that. So there were kind of these like mini product marketing life cycles within how we viewed our customer lifecycle. So that was really how we went from the more last mile activities to being more strategic. And I think the other thing too was to just, instead of being reactive, like you mentioned, sometimes we'd have to just pause, ask why someone was asking for something, and sometimes say no, or say, we don't actually do that anymore. We do this instead, which, to be honest, we still do to this day. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but I think that over time, it's actually producing a lot more effectiveness from our team, and we're able to better support broader activities.
Mm. Nice. And Jonathan as well had a question about, how do you, or have your established scope for the PMM function internally to remain strategically focused and not take on tasks owned by other functions? I guess that's an extension of what you were just talking about.
Yeah, I think, we still sometimes take on tasks owned by other functions. I think that they're, probably more often than not, we end up taking on tasks that are not owned by any function. I think pricing and packaging is a great example of this. So we own pricing and packaging, but there's all these little operational details in terms of how that actually gets executed, how all of those pathways to buying something start to finish come to fruition. It involves a lot of groups and a lot of people. And, sometimes I think because we own pricing and packaging, end up addressing a lot of those. And I think, a part of it is just quantifying it and understanding what you're doing. So maybe you do have to pick it up, but at least knowing that you're doing it and putting it on the radar for your leadership and things like that. And the other piece is, sometimes letting things fail. I think as product marketers, we are used to being on the hook for that final go-to-market activity and how something is perceived as having launched. And there are cases where you have to just let something fail because it is not actually part of your team's scope, or flag that it's an area that that needs an owner, and ask for volunteers.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura, for a really great session. Thank you to everyone for tuning in and asking questions as well. So Laura, I hope to speak to you soon and hope to see everyone soon at the next session.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been my pleasure.